Have you ever wondered what true happiness feels like? Is it something we can chase, or does it arise naturally when we let go of striving? What if the answer has been right in front of us all along, hidden beneath the noise and distraction of modern life? Through the teachings of Zen Buddhism, many have found a way to escape the endless cycle of stress and suffering. But what does it take to walk this path? How does it truly change the lives of those who embrace it? In this story, you'll meet three individuals whose lives were transformed by Zen and the wisdom of a simple monk named Master Renpo, who was said to have attained the wisdom of the Buddha himself. Through his guidance, they discovered the secret to lasting happiness, not through riches, ambition, or avoidance of pain, but by embracing the present moment. Are you ready to find out how Zen can lead to true bliss? By the end of this journey, you might feel inspired to explore this path for yourself. Taro was a young man consumed by ambition. He lived in a bustling village, always pushing to get ahead, constantly striving for wealth and recognition. His days were filled with work, his mind always racing with thoughts of what more he could achieve. But no matter how much success he gathered, Taro found himself feeling emptier with each passing day. One day, after closing a particularly lucrative business deal, Taro walked past a quiet temple at the edge of the village. Sitting on the temple steps was a monk named Master Renpo. The old monk's presence was calm, serene, as if the chaos of the world had no impact on him. Taro, feeling a strange pull, approached him. "Master," Taro said, "I have wealth, I have success, yet I feel as though something is missing. I am never satisfied. How can I find true happiness?" Master Renpo smiled gently and motioned for Taro to sit beside him. "Close your eyes, Taro," the monk said softly. "What do you hear?" Taro, confused, closed his eyes and listened. At first, all he could hear was the noise of the village, people talking, the clatter of carts and the sounds of animals. His mind buzzed with thoughts of business and plans. But slowly, as he focused, those sounds began to fade into the background. He started to hear the soft rustle of the wind through the trees, the distant chirping of birds, the gentle rhythm of his own breath. "I hear the wind," Taro said, his voice softer now. "I hear the birds, I hear my breath." Master Renpo nodded. "You are beginning to listen. True happiness is not found in what you achieve, but in what you can hear, see, and feel in this very moment. The more you chase, the more you miss what is right in front of you." Taro was puzzled. "But I have to work, Master. I have to strive to survive." "Yes," Renpo said, "but striving does not mean losing yourself in the pursuit. When your mind is always in the future, you are blind to the present. True wealth is found when you can be fully present, content with what is right before you." Taro left that day, his heart heavy with the monk's words. But something in him had shifted. He began practicing what Master Renpo had taught him, pausing in the middle of his work to simply breathe, to notice the world around him. Over time, his anxiety began to lift. He found moments of joy not in his accomplishments, but in small, ordinary moments, like the laughter of a child or the warmth of the sun on his face. Taro's life didn't drastically change in outward ways. He still worked, still sought success, but now he carried with him a new understanding. Happiness was not something to be earned, it was something to be experienced in every breath. Through Master Renpo's teachings, Taro found peace within himself, no longer chasing happiness, but finding it in the here and now. Yumi had always been a devoted mother. She loved her family deeply, but after the sudden death of her husband, her world was shattered. Grief consumed her every waking moment, and even the sight of her children's smiling faces brought her no solace. She was lost in sorrow, unable to see a way forward. Every day felt like a battle to survive, her heart heavy with despair. One evening, as Yumi walked alone through the village, she came across the quiet temple where Master Renpo lived. Hearing of the monk's wisdom, she entered and found him tending the garden, his hands moving gently through the earth. "Master," Yumi said, her voice trembling, "I have lost the one I love most in this world. My heart is broken, and I do not know how to go on. How can I find peace when I am drowning in sorrow?" Master Renpo stood up, his gaze soft and compassionate. "Come, sit with me, Yumi," he said, leading her to a quiet bench under a blooming cherry blossom tree. They sat in silence for a long time, the soft petals falling around them. Finally, Master Renpo spoke. "Sorrow is a deep river," he said. "It flows through all our lives. But if you stand in the river and try to fight the current, It will only pull you under. Let the river flow, Yumi. Feel your grief, but do not resist it. Yumi looked at him confused. But how can I not resist? It hurts so much. Master Renpo reached out and caught a falling blossom in his hand. This flower will fall, whether we want it to or not. It is the nature of life for things to change, to end. The Buddha taught us that clinging to what was only brings suffering. But when we accept that all things are impermanent, our joy, our pain, our loved ones, we find peace in the flow of life. Yumi sat quietly, letting the monk's words sink in. She realized that her grief, as painful as it was a natural part of life. She had been fighting it, resisting the pain. But perhaps there was another way. Over the weeks that followed, Yumi returned to the temple regularly. She began meditating with Master Renpo, learning to sit with her grief without being consumed by it. She learned that it was okay to feel sorrow, but also to find moments of peace amidst the pain. Slowly, she began to heal, not by forgetting her husband, but by accepting that he was a part of her heart, even in his absence. Through Zen practice, Yumi discovered that happiness wasn't about escaping suffering, but about embracing life in its fullness, the joy and the sorrow, the love and the loss. She learned to be present for her children again, finding moments of beauty and peace in her life, even as she carried the memory of her husband with her. Master Renpo had not always been a wise and peaceful monk. As a young man, he had been restless, searching for meaning in a world that often seemed chaotic and full of suffering. He traveled far and wide, seeking wisdom from many teachers, but none could answer the deep longing in his heart. It wasn't until Renpo came upon the teachings of the Buddha that he found his true path. The Buddha, known as Siddhartha Gautama, had once been a prince who gave up his wealth and power to seek the truth about human suffering. After years of meditation and deep spiritual practice, he attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, discovering the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, the keys to ending suffering and finding true happiness. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from our desires and attachments, from our refusal to accept the impermanent nature of life. But he also taught that by following the Eightfold Path, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, we could free ourselves from the cycle of suffering and find lasting peace. Renpo devoted himself to these teachings, meditating for many years in solitude. He discovered that true happiness wasn't found in the external world, but in the quiet stillness of the mind. Through mindfulness and compassion, he learned to let go of his attachments, to accept life as it was, and to find joy in the present moment. When Renpo returned to the village as a monk, he carried the Buddha's wisdom with him, teaching others that the path to happiness was simple, yet profound. It wasn't about changing the world around you, but about changing how you saw the world. By embracing the principles of Zen and the Buddha's teachings, Renpo found the peace he had always sought. As you reflect on the stories of Taro, Yumi, and Master Renpo, you may find yourself asking, can I too find happiness through Zen? The answer is yes. Zen is not reserved for monks or spiritual seekers alone. It is a practice available to anyone who is willing to explore it. Through mindfulness, acceptance, and compassion, you can discover the peace that resides within you, just as these individuals did. You don't need to abandon your life or retreat to a temple. Zen can be practiced wherever you are. Begin by sitting in silence, paying attention to your breath, and noticing the present moment. Over time, you will find that happiness isn't something you need to chase. It is already within you, waiting to be uncovered. Take the first step on the Zen path to happiness today. Let go of your distractions, your worries, and your attachments. Breathe deeply, be present, and discover the joy that has been with you all along. Zen is a journey, and it begins with a single breath.